Do you ever miss the signs and wonder if the universe is silent or if you just did not hear it? You ask for alignment, but the day blurs, and you cannot tell if your manifestation is working or not. You want a clear yes, but only scattered hints appear. Numbers repeat, a message arrives on cue, a stranger echoes your thought, and doubt still shuts the gate. Life speaks first in whispers, and those whispers arrive before your conscious choice. Once you learn to see the signs, it happens faster than you think. The delay is not outside. The delay is in recognition. In this video, you will learn to detect the earliest signals that your manifestation is working. You will learn to step into the pre-selection window and to guide it with simple actions. This message is here for a reason, and your timing is not an accident. If this invitation resonates with your soul, and you want to always receive powerful messages like the one you are about to hear, we invite you to join our community by subscribing to the channel. Now, if you are prepared, let's enter the quantum zone together. You ask for guidance and the day replies in whispers before you choose. In that first fraction of a second, your body announces a direction and your mind follows the announcement with reasons. This is not superstition. This is timing. Your nervous system predicts the next moment, and prediction pulls you toward what feels most familiar. If familiar means doubt, doubt wins the race. If familiar means coherence, coherence arrives first. Neuroscience calls this predictive coding, which means the brain guesses the world and updates only when it must. Your guess floods your body as sensation and posture before you think a single word. The guess becomes a broadcast. The field around you reads the coherence of that broadcast and mirrors it the way a still lake mirrors a sky. The mirror is not judging you. The mirror is responding to the earliest clear signal it receives. You may believe that results follow what you say with emphasis later in the day. You repeat an affirmation and try to overpower momentum with volume. The universe is not measuring volume. The universe is measuring coherence. The earliest coherent impulse is the one that organizes events. The later declarations often try to redirect a train that has already left the station. This is the millisecond that picks your timeline. It is the silent moment when a posture shifts, the breath narrows or opens, and a subtle orientation becomes a path. You do not need to capture every millisecond. You need to honor the first change you can feel and let that change be your pivot. Once you feel the pivot, you can introduce a different frequency with a simple choice that the body will accept. Consider the identity that your nervous system expects to play today. If the identity expects effort without reward, the early signal will lean toward delay. If the identity expects ease with responsibility, the early signal will lean toward flow. This is not magical thinking. This is how a living system conserves energy by selecting the path that matches its model of self. The model updates when you give it a new first input. Imagine you wake and see a message that could trigger stress. Before thought builds a story, your breath pauses and your shoulders rise. That is the pre-selection window announcing a timeline of pressure. Now imagine another morning. Before you look at any screen, you place one hand on your chest and lengthen one exhale. Your body receives the message of safety first. The first signal is now steadiness. The day organizes around that signal, with meetings that fit, timing that softens, and options that match your capacity. The key shift is to prioritize first frequency hygiene over post hoc effort. You do not clean a spill by shouting at it later. You place the first drop in the right container, so the rest follows the initial shape. First frequency hygiene means you watch for the earliest cue and answer it with a gentle correction that your body can keep. You are not forcing an outcome. You are choosing a starting tone. There is a reason small actions change large arcs. Early actions multiply because later steps inherit their direction. A single degree of change at the start becomes a new destination over distance. That is why the first coherent impulse has more influence than a loud intention that arrives too late. You can design that impulse by tending to what happens just before you decide. Ask yourself a simple question in the gap. What is the first truth I can feel that moves me toward alignment today? Then notice the smallest next action that embodies that truth. It may be a slower exhale. It may be a relaxed jaw. It may be placing your feet on the ground before you pick up the phone. Each first signal becomes a seed that your field can mirror. Once the seed is clear, the timeline begins to move. You now understand that a first impulse sets the day in motion. So the next step is to learn how to detect that impulse while it is still soft and precise. The earliest signal is not a thought. It is a felt shift in breath, posture, temperature, and orientation. It is a quiet yes or no that shows up as expansion or contraction in the body. When you can recognize the pattern, your conscious choice can cooperate with it or redirect it with skill. Start with breath because breath is the fastest bridge between state and story. Notice the first inhale after a trigger and the shape of the exhale that follows. If the exhale shortens and the chest lifts, your system prepared for defense. If the exhale lengthens and the lower ribs move, your system prepared for engagement. Each state is a message about what your prediction expects to happen next. Scan posture the way a musician tunes a string. Are your shoulders rising toward your ears or settling down and back? Is your jaw polished stone or warm clay? Is your gaze narrow or wide? These micro-positions are part of the broadcast your field mirrors. They are the alphabet of intention before words appear. Now listen for temperature and pressure. Do your palms cool or heat when you face a choice? Does your belly feel hollow or comfortably full? Does the skin of your face tighten or soften around the eyes and cheeks? The first micro-shift is a predictor of the next cascade. You can feel it in a single breath if you decide to practice. Intuitive cues often arrive beside the somatic data, like two friends who finish each other's sentences. You sense a pull to open a book to a certain page. You feel a boundary around a conversation before a word is spoken. A memory surfaces without context and points toward a path. The mind calls this random. It is pattern recognition that has not yet reached language. Here is a longer story, so you can watch the process in motion. A woman prepares for a job conversation after many months of waiting. Her mind promises to stay calm, but her first inhale stops high in the chest and her shoulders lift. She feels a drop in the stomach and an urge to check the phone again and again. Those are early signs of a timeline that ends in self-sabotage. She pauses, places a hand on the ribs, and invites a slow exhale that lasts a little longer than the inhale. The shoulders soften and her gaze widens to include the edges of the room. She remembers an image of a bridge from a dream the night before and senses a clear yes toward asking a bold question. The conversation begins, and she listens for the same signals in the other person. When she hears a hurried tone, she waits for the next long exhale before speaking. The talk unfolds with steadiness because the first signals were honored and corrected early. A micro-practice will help you build this skill each morning. Sit or stand with both feet on the ground. Place one hand on the side of your ribs and one hand on your lower belly. Breathe in for 5 counts and breathe out for 6 counts. Repeat for 8 to 10 breaths. On each exhale, say in a gentle voice inside the mind, "I am safe to adjust my first signal." Then scan in this order: breath, jaw, shoulders, belly, hands, feet, gaze. Name the first change you notice in each area without judgment. Say one clear sentence that aligns your day, such as, "Today I choose clarity in my meetings." Then take one tiny action that matches the sentence, such as tidying a desk or preparing a glass of water. The action becomes the physical proof of the new broadcast. If you think this is too simple, remember that early signals multiply across the hours ahead. What you seed in the body becomes the shape of the day. When the first signal is steady and coherent, the field reflects that order with surprising speed. Once you learn to see these signs, change arrives faster than you think. Ao can now feel the earliest signals that shape your day. There is a deeper layer where you interrupt the old pattern and install a new trajectory. This is the pre-selection intercept. It meets the moment before choice hardens into habit. It is simple, repeatable, and kind to your nervous system. When you apply it, signs become readable and momentum begins to serve you. The pain is real when you cannot read the signs. You ask for alignment and then lose the thread inside noise and doubt. The intercept exists so you can reclaim the first moment with clarity. Think of a rail switch that moves a heavy train with a light touch at the start. You become the one who moves the switch at the level of breath and posture. Step 1 is notice and name. When a trigger appears, do not rush to fix the story. Place attention on the first body cue you can find. Is the breath high or low? Is the exhale shorter than the inhale? Are the shoulders lifting or settling? Is the gaze narrow or wide? Name one cue in a short sentence, such as breath is high. The act of naming converts noise into data. You are saying to your system that awareness has arrived and force is not required. This ends the escalation and buys you the next few seconds. Step 2 is orient and regulate. Turn your face or your eyes toward a stable point in the scene. Let the point anchor your attention in the present moment. Then use a coherence breath for 4 counts in and 6 counts out. Breathe through the nose if you can. Let the exhale be smooth, like pouring water from a cup. Repeat for 3 rounds while you relax the muscles around the eyes and mouth. On each exhale, say inside your mind, I am safe to adjust my first signal. The long exhale engages the calming branch of the nervous system. The orienting gaze interrupts the loop of worry and returns prediction to the body that is here now. You are building a state that can receive a better instruction. Step 3 is select and encode. Ask one question in the gap. What is the smallest true action that moves me toward alignment? Keep the action physical and immediate. Stand up. Place both feet on the ground. Drink a glass of water. Send one precise message instead of many anxious ones. Choose one sentence that names who you are in this scene and say it slowly once. For example, I choose steadiness while I speak. Then take the action within 60 seconds. The body believes what the body does. The field mirrors the coherence of action joined with word. You have told the day which timeline to amplify. Let us watch the 3 steps in a short story so you can try them with me. You are walking into a meeting that matters for your next chapter. Just before you enter, your breath turns shallow and your gaze narrows to the floor. You notice and name it with a quiet sentence. Breath is high and vision is tight. You turn your face to a picture frame on the wall and let your eyes widen to include the corners. You breathe 4 in and 6 out for 3 rounds. Your shoulders drop on the second exhale. Now you ask the question, what is the smallest true action that moves me toward alignment? You decide to look at each person with soft eyes and speak the first sentence with calm pace. You say inside your mind, I choose steadiness while I speak. Then you step through the door and let the action confirm the choice. The tone of the room follows your first signal and the conversation becomes clear. Use the intercept in crowded places when you cannot close your eyes or sit down. Look for a horizontal line in the environment and let it be your anchor. Soften your jaw as you lengthen one exhale. Place your fingertips together for a single breath so your brain maps the boundary of your body. They tell your system that there is safety now and that a new selection can hold. If the old identity tries to pull you back, do not fight it. Thank the strategy that kept you safe in the past, then return to the steps without drama. Notice and name. Orient and regulate. Select and encode. Each cycle updates the model of who you are. Over days, the earliest signal will begin to arrive as steadiness by default. You will not need to wrestle with the day because you tuned the first note. Early actions compound because later moves inherit their direction from the first. Tiny inputs at the origin become large differences across distance. You do not need perfect conditions. You need a repeatable way to meet the first moment with coherence. The pre-selection intercept gives you that way. In the next part, we will stabilize the new baseline so the shift stays when life tests it. You shifted the first moment with skill, and now the task is to keep the new tone when life becomes loud. Stabilization turns a state into a trait so that coherence arrives first without struggle. The pain is not only confusion about signs. It is the cycle of gaining clarity and then slipping back into the old broadcast. This chapter gives you a structure that helps the new selection become your default. Think of wet cement that hardens when you protect it early. Your nervous system is like that. After you choose a new first signal, the next hours decide whether the pattern sets or dissolves. Stability is not perfection. Stability is repetition without drama. Small acts at the beginning and the end of the day lock the baseline in place. Create 2 bookends for every day. Morning establishes the first broadcast. Evening seals the learning, so memory updates during sleep. Morning practice begins before screens and noise. Place both feet on the floor and breathe in for 5 counts and out for 6 counts for 6 rounds. Let your gaze widen to include the corners of the room. Place one hand on your ribs and one hand on your lower belly to remind your system where power begins. Say one sentence slowly, such as I choose coherence in my first meeting. Take one small action that matches the sentence, such as preparing water or notes. The body believes what the body does, and the field mirrors that belief. Design anchors that keep the signal steady during the day. Use one object anchor that you will see often, such as a ring or a smooth stone in your pocket. Every time you touch it, breathe out a little longer than you breathe in. Use one language anchor, a short sentence that you repeat once with sincerity. Use one posture anchor, such as softening the jaw and dropping the shoulders on a single exhale. These anchors reduce drift without effort. Evening practice consolidates the update through reconsolidation. Recall one moment when you honored the earliest cue. Describe it in 1 or 2 sentences in a notebook. Then imagine the same scene again and exaggerate the coherent choice by a small degree. Feel the breath and posture of that version for 3 slow cycles. You are teaching the brain that this new pattern is the one to store. Here is a short story. A man practices the intercept during a tense call and notices a long exhale and a wider gaze. He ends the call with clarity but feels old momentum returning. He opens a social application and breath rises high in the chest. He touches the ring, lengthens the exhale, and places the phone face down. He writes 2 lines in the notebook and imagines the next call starting with the same long exhale and steady posture. The next morning he repeats the routine and feels steadiness arrive sooner. By the 3rd day, recovery times shorten and doubt loosens its grip. Build a bounce protocol for slips. When you notice drift, name it. Take 3 slow breaths and complete 1 restoring action within 1 minute. Drink water. Stand up and place your feet on the ground. Look to the horizon or a line in the room. Say 1 sentence that names who you are in this scene, such as, "I return to coherence now." Return to the task with a gentle pace. This prevents one slip from becoming a spiral. Shape your environment so it carries the baseline for you. Tidy the desk at the end of the day so the morning begins with order. Place a reminder near the door that says, "First signal first." Measure progress by signs of a stable baseline. Spikes are less extreme. Recovery is faster. Helpful coincidences cluster after your morning practice. Write these wins in a notebook so the evidence stays available when doubt returns. But there is a deeper layer waiting just ahead. You will learn to live in the gap with less effort and more wonder. In the conclusion, you will seal the principles and carry them into every choice. You learn to read the whispers before thought, to feel the millisecond that picks your timeline, and to shift it with the pre-selection intercept and daily anchors. Your field mirrors the first coherent signal, and repetition turns a new state into your default. What if you treated the first breath after a trigger as sacred and let it set the tone for the next hour? What would change if you practiced the intercept before every important conversation? Remember the path. Notice and name the first cue, orient and regulate with a longer exhale, then select and encode 1 small action within a minute. Seal the learning at night so the brain updates during sleep. If you absorbed this message and you are among the few who will put it into practice to meet the first moment with coherence, comment, "I choose coherence first." Now, if you feel a call to dive into the inner realm of self-discovery and wish to continue the journey of today, 2 messages will appear on the screen. One will guide you toward a deeper understanding of your consciousness, and the other will reaffirm familiar beliefs meant to hold you in old vibrations. Trust the frequency that resonates in your chest and choose with courage. I hope to see you on the other side.